Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. I'm your host, Mario Selca, and this is a weekly news roundup.
Residents and tourists alike across Italy found themselves once again in the middle of a metro strike. Trade unions have called these hiccup strikes where public transportation only runs during the morning and evening commutes. By the minute, mobs of crowds flooded station after station across Rome in hopes of catching the last train into the center. Metro workers say that they will continue the strikes until their rights are met and respected. This is an inconvenience to many commuters, especially tourists looking to get to the center to visit attractions such as the Vatican Museum. Until this dispute is resolved, commuters will have to allow extra time for their morning commutes. Mario Selca, SATV, Rome, Italy.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us. I'm Mario Selca. And we now know who operated those drones in Paris that raised security concerns. They were operated by 3 Al Jazeera journalists who were arrested on Wednesday afternoon after police saw a drone flying in the Bois de Boulogne woods in western Paris. The journalists can be held for a maximum of 24 hours under French law. Flying drones without a license in Paris is illegal and carries a maximum 1-year prison sentence and a €75,000 fine.
With great pleasure and anticipation for the week to come, that I am happy to declare NMUN New York 2015 open.
And with that, the annual Model United Nations New York Conference commenced. The one-week NMUN conference provides students with an opportunity to represent a country as a delegation simulating the real United Nations. 3,000 students from nearly 49 countries all over the world gathered in New York. The students must stay in character and act as actual delegates, giving speeches on their topics, representing the countries assigned to them.
Colombia is working with Mexico, Afghanistan, Netherlands, among others, on developing a detailed and concise working paper.
The conference also gives students an opportunity to work with people from all walks of life.
Amazing to be able to meet people from Germany, there are people from France, from Czech Republic.
We had the honor of speaking with NMUN Secretary General, who had this to say.
Everyone on the floor negotiating and writing papers and debating. It's really nice to see that we have people of our age ready to just sacrifice a whole week and a lot of sleep to just get together and debate about topics and then negotiate and vote on their resolutions. So it's really nice to see that we have a generation ready to act.
The Secretary General also had this message for future delegates.
By getting involved, we learn from each other, because here we're exposed to people from different cultures, different countries, different languages, but also representing opinions that have to be sometimes completely opposed to the opinions that we're supposed to represent. So it's very eye-opening.
The conference also gives students an opportunity to simulate real-life issues.
Dealing with the world's most pressing issues is always tough, and it's just interesting to see what actual diplomats go through in solving these issues with ISIS or hunger, women, mutilation, and stuff like that.
After a long few days of intense negotiating and resolution writing, students headed to the actual United Nations to take part in voting procedures and closing ceremonies. The students had the opportunity to vote on their resolution and sit in the very seats that world leaders sit in during UN sessions. Later that afternoon, students heard from the Deputy Secretary General, Jan Eliason, who told the delegates to keep up the great work. Colombian delegate reflected on the actual visit to the General Assembly room.
Being in the General Assembly, the whole ambiance of the closing ceremony changed. The room had a glow to it, it had a different feel to it. You felt like you were part of something.
By a very short majority, the meeting is adjourned until next year.
And with that, the NMUN New York Conference concluded.
There is also a new international conference set for this fall, and that will be held in the Czech Republic in November. In addition to the international conference, the annual fall conference in Washington, D.C. will also be held in October, and the New York annual conference will be back next spring. And the Holocaust may have occurred 70 years ago. However, one college professor is making sure that history is never repeated nor ever forgotten. We went to Riverdale to find out more.
Agnaza Friedi is an assistant professor of religious studies at Manhattan College in the Riverdale section of the Bronx. She also runs the Holocaust, Genocide, and Interfaith Education Center.
The center's mission is to promote Jewish, Catholic, Muslim discussion and collaboration. In the fall of 2014, Dr. Afridi created a fellowship that is a partnership with a local yeshiva. The fellowship partners Manhattan students with yeshiva students.
We partnered together to do a year of events and conversations between survivors, a yeshiva student, and a Manhattan College student. And we're hoping this will culminate into a project, maybe a DVD, and more archive material for the center.
Fellowship student Lanisa Patterson says that the fellowship is important in understanding the effects of the Holocaust.
I learned coming to MC was that the Holocaust is not just a Jewish problem, it's a world problem. And even taking Nazi Germany and the Holocaust now, I've learned that that statement could not be any more true.
Bridging faith through Holocaust allows for Holocaust survivors to keep their stories alive.
I've heard the stories of people who've actually lived in camps. I've heard stories from hidden children. In fact, one of the survivors that I work with closely, she was actually a child during the Holocaust, and due to her mother, she was saved and she was kept hidden from the Nazis. Everyone has a story.
Dr. Afridi explains the importance of the fellowship as a way of never forgetting the past.
As people were killed because of their faith, but because of just being Jewish. And I think we all have to learn that lesson no matter what. And it's time for us to keep recording these messages because these survivors are not going to be around, and giving our students that experience.
To learn more about the fellowship, visit hgimanhattan.com.
Have to go, but thanks to both of you, Deshaun Morgan and Jamie DM. Coming up, why traveling to Europe is the best time right now, and why has Cristiano Ronaldo been handed a 2-match ban? We will explain right after the break.